Dokkan Festival STR Perfect Form Cell released for April Fool's Day, and as you might imagine, he kind of sucks, right? You know, he's not like the worst, most terrible character to release ever, but me personally, I have a lot of frustrations with this kit. I think that he could have been also very much better as a overall design character, and he just has a lot of things to him that makes me, shake, like, scratch my head, kind of question, like, what was the actual like end result that was supposed to happen here, right? And I can kind of see the vision that they were going for him. With him as a slot one character for the brand new team, we have this guy plus Tech Cell, this guy plus AGL Cell, and you have some floating supports that new 18 is supporting, tournament participants, right? I could see the semblance of a team being built through that lens. But there obviously are a lot of issues when it comes to that. I think first and foremost, Revive being a ability that does not provide you any sort of team protector mechanic is just inherently flawed in my opinion. It can be cool, but of course there's only one revive you could use for each team. And the revival skill for most characters is an ability that will be activated when any character on the rotation ends up dying. Ever since UI Goku into Evolution Blue Vegeta, right? We've had basically 3 characters that have had a self-imposed revive, which is the Metal Cooler, Intfapu, and STR Cell. Now, of course, the issues with Metal Cooler I think are the same, where I don't really like that his revive is just himself. There's another issue where, you could say, oh, Intfapu's like that, and, you see I have Intfapu rated highly. But the thing is that Intfapu also gives you a Ghost Usher when you revive, so he still will eventually provide you with that Team Protector mechanic on top of the revive. So I don't think that is like really as big of a deal, right? Obviously, it would be nice if his revive also was a team protector, but imagine if his revive was a team protector plus then he gets a Ghost Usher on top of that. That'd be even more insane than what he already is, right? The thing about STR Cell is him as a leader, right? In Fapu, back when you use him as a leader, it was more prominently an issue with, like, you won't be able to get both Ghost Ushers, but it wasn't really the big deal because he still did his role. He wasn't like, he's not gaining an ability that's important for him after revives. But the thing about the Cell is that you are, of course, going to be using him as, his own leader on his own team. On his own team, he's able to very easily get his extra super attack, the critical hit, and then, I guess his domain will make his stats look nice, but that's a whole other issue we could talk about. Okay, let's say, you're obviously going to want to use this guy as a leader. If you use this guy as a leader, the main cell that revives, oh, you're looking good, you're looking amazing. The friend cell only gets a 30% reduction when receiving a super attack temporarily. So the friend cell is sitting there with about, maybe like 1.4 mil defense with 20% reduction. There's bosses that do 2 mil normals. There are bosses that do more than 2 mil normals now. So you know what that means? The cell takes quite a decent amount of damage from normals before he supers, which is not really something that I would like to see from a slot 1 character. Now, once he super attacks and everything like that, it's nice, but, that's obviously more of a slot 2 character role. And then, okay, you could put, like, Tech Sound slot 1. I mean, he could probably work decently in slot 1, I think, in a nice amount of situations because he's getting the 80% damage reduction. But it's not like you're always gonna get, like, the max 80% reduction against every single boss with that Tech Cell. And, he's going to be still like at about 800k defense or so. And once he supers, that defense gets very high. But again, that's more of a slot 2 thing. Tech Cell is preferably a slot 2 character. AGL Cell is also very much preferably a slot 2 character. AGL Cell could take damage potentially from some normals before he supers. Because again, it's not like his defense is like 2 mil plus. His defense, is about 1 mil range, I feel like, start of turn. If even that. So it's a thing of, you really would have liked this guy to be slot 1. And again, that's the role of this cell, where he gets the full ability. He gets the guard, which is huge, by the way. Guard is a lot. Then he gets the extra 15% reduction. So he's at 35% damage reduction with the guard. And then he gets this extra percent against supers. Like, and then that friend cell, he's looking good, right? He's looking fine. Or the cell that gets his full revive. But it's really stupid in why don't both cells, like, have at least the guard? I think even just the guard by itself would be a gigantic, buff, right? Or even if this was switched around, I still probably would prefer that, because Cell would, even with 35% reduction with the guard, like, that would still be, would that arguably just be better than the 50% reduction before receiving an attack? I think that might be the case. I haven't done the exact math, of course, but okay, let's say you're gonna run this guy as, what I see a lot of people say. A lot of people bring this up to me. This Cell will be good in the future when you're not using him as his own leader, which is one, stupid, because this Cell is very clearly designed to be the tournament participants buffer, right? Tournament participants Cell Saga buffer. Like, he's clearly designed to be a leader character, right? Especially with this, he's supposed to be your slot 1 character on his own team, right? It makes a lot of sense. But let's say, okay, let's use him on another team. What if there's another domain ability? Without his domain, he loses crit chance. No, actually, he'll still get his intro. My bad. The domain isn't really a factor there. Yeah, okay, he'll still get his intro, but there's gonna be times where if you don't get him with another cell potentially, and you're just using him as a floater, like let's say you're running him on a demonic power kind of setup. Who's tournament participants there? Can you guys name a few? Let's say you're running them on a future sworn enemies team. Who's tournament participants? If you're using them like just an add-on, a floater. If you're making a cell rotation, that can be the difference, of course. But then if you don't get the cells together until later on, this guy is gonna struggle building up. The thing with domains, if you activate his domain potentially before another character's domain that you would want for that team that you're specifically running, that's also going to cause an issue, because then this guy's domain is going to be up for the first 5 turns. And I think there's just a lot of things about that. And then beyond that, even if you're running this guy like this, why would you choose to use this guy instead of like Intfapu as a revival character, right? Using up your main a defensive utility resource, right? Because if we think about that, if you're able to run Infapu on the same team as this guy, you could run a cells rotation, but then why not run Tech Cell and AGL cells rotation as well? I think those two are just better characters, right? And then you could run a character like Infapu, who has a revive that can give you a team protector ability on top of that. If you're using this guy, like, let's say potentially even as a floater character. You guys see what I'm like kind of saying from here? Like, Cell being better on it outside of his own team is kind of stupid, because then if he doesn't get this, he's gonna be weaker than he already is offensively. Like, way weaker than he is already gonna be offensively. He wants to be against tournament participants' enemies with full buff, but then he buffs them anyways. He buffs the enemies with his domain ability. Why? This is a multiplicative buff against the bosses. It adds a lot of extra damage. Guess what he also does? He buffs androids. Battle Hardened Formidable Foes, he's buffing the Gammas, Salmax. Like, okay, let's name the hardest fights in the game. That's just as an example, right? Using him on his own team, which is basically the best team he's on right now. Like, if you're running on Glorio's team, you're going to run the other cells as a rotation, I feel like. Let's say this. Tournament participant category allies and enemies. Jiren fights. The Jiren red zone for the Goku story and the Vegeta story. Then you're going to go ahead and have the Jiren fight in the Battle Hardened Formidable Foes. Then with the androids part, you're going to have the Salmax fight in Battle Hardened Formidable Foes. Okay, so that's like, a majority of the hardest fights in the game. He's just directly buffing them. And then you could say, oh, but Cell will be able to take it. What about your floater character? Like, maybe they don't, like, Android 18. Maybe she doesn't dodge, or, some of the phases can't dodge. And then those normals are going to hit a lot harder. What about the friend Cell, right? Who's going to have just 20% reduction. Maybe like 1 to 1.4 mil defense, right? And then Jiren's normals are going to go from hitting 2 million to 15% harder. And guess what that means? That means that Jiren's normals are going to shred that Cell. Just as an example, right? Just so you guys could kind of think about that. What about when Jiren crits the friend Cell? It dies. That's fun. Awesome, cool, you know. And then let's talk about, Red Zone Blue Goku. Type disadvantage. One of the cell dies. The other cell dies again, and then you're dead. Because he's type disadvantage in that fight. Festival battles. Unrunnable. You're not reusing the cell in festival battles. Not necessarily, like, if you, like, okay. I think that the thing about cells that I'm not expecting him to be good there because he's not a stacking character, but it's just another difficult fight that he's kind of used. So it's like, okay, you could say the cell could be good in concept, but then you use him in the game, and then guess what? He can do, like, are there many clears with the cell? Like, I haven't seen a lot of clears with the cell, like a double cell team, because inherently he's flawed in terms of the current game environments, because it's his own design is working against him. Does that make sense, guys? Like, his own design is working against him because he's not only buffing these enemies, but because you're using him as a leader and the other cell gets demolished. Anyways, I don't know, just, and then it's just like, okay, I talked about it a little here, right? This guy is very clearly intended to be a slot 1 character, post for red, but all he does is race a defensive team protector mechanic, which you could potentially get even if you're using like Age OUI Goku on the team, you know? Blue Evolution Vegeta Int on the team, right? Not characters you would primarily go out every way to choose, but it could be something that you could have, especially for future characters that will come out with the revive too. This guy has a domain and a revive, which both of those, only one can be up at a time essentially, and the revive itself can only be used once. So this cell is actively potentially, like, okay, he's buffing your characters, but I think the buffs the boss get are going to be even more disadvantageous towards you, right? Compared to, like, Broly's, when he buffed like super bosses, like the hardest fight in the game was like Gogeta Blue. There's a cell max fight, which that was also unfortunate for him, but yeah, there wasn't a lot of like extreme class fights because at the time, like, Supreme Battle Spectacle was like the hardest thing, right? And it really does depend, but yeah, I think I kind of talked about it here. Yeah, pretty much, like, maybe if the cell, like, this active skill also just gives him more stats, but I feel like it's just not enough. And then turn 4 from the entry turn is also just a very silly thing too. Like, why is it entry turn, right? I just think it's kind of, it's a bit funny. Why don't both cells have like the guard, or maybe, like, what if this active skill was like Infat Boom? Like, what if it's a target skill, like a target skill active skill? That'd be really good if you had like a target skill active instead of these extra buffs, and then actually made him just stronger in here, because like this is just giving him stats. The multiplicative stats are very cool, but I just feel like this could have been something to give him like an actual team protector ability as a new leader of the team. That'd be awesome, because it would be just a very, very nice little ability to have. Or if this buffed all allies in the rotation, that would be crazy too. But no, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like talking about Cell and just how I just don't like him. I felt like making a separate video for this because, I mean, realistically, what do I talk about today? Like, there's no new content coming out. Like, I mean, I guess, we'll know. I feel like probably maybe tonight we'll get like some sort of teaser maybe, and then like a drop. Like, I could see like an Easy A this week or a Super Easy A. Maybe Super Easy A STR Cell would be really cool. Maybe the Easy A for Alar Goku and Gohan could be an option. I'm gonna assume a Super Easy A would be what makes sense to me. Like a STR Perfect Cell Super Easy A would be cool. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, in terms of like upcoming content, I mean, maybe another burst mode could be something we see. I think that makes sense. Like, let me look at the actual news for this Cell celebration, because I mean, it's kind of, I say kind of dry, but it's a bit dry, right? April celebration, I'm not expecting like content all the time, but yeah. Intensifying fights on the 21st, which is a very long time away. Why is this even in the news? Baton Battle on the 14th. Yeah, so yeah, I'm thinking we should probably get, if there's gonna be new GB story from the 7th. Yeah, all of this is dropping on the 7th, so we should have a data download tomorrow, and then we should probably have a teaser if there's gonna be another easy or super easy game. We'll see. Then of course next week, between this time frame, is gonna be the part 2 LR. The week after that, so we'll see what happens. But let's take a look at some of the replies to this tweet. Thoughts on STR Cell and the current environment of Dokkan. Sad. The 2 cells you use next to him and shit on him, right? Great character, love his team, love the cells. You know, as long as you guys are having fun, I think that's what does matter. I unfortunately am not having fun. He's not a well designed leader unit, and unfortunate because it's an easy fix just to not have his rifle. Yeah, it's just like, even if his revive, like literally half the issues I have with them would not be there if he could just be a consistent slot 1 on his own team, both of the cells. It would be cut down in half, right? It's just stupid because it's not like he's doing crazy damage. It's not like he's providing crazy support. It's not like he's doing like crazy healing or anything like that. He's kind of just a stat stick unit with the revive. But if he can't even do that role, then what is he doing? You know what I mean? Like, am I crazy? I see so much defense for the cell. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm not expecting him to be like really good. It would be nice if he's really good. Wouldn't it be? It'd be awesome. It'd be great. It'd be perfect. Masterclass, I gotta disagree with you, Ziad. Masterclass is crazy. Crazy. He's overall, I would say, like, you know, still like 7 out of 10. That's the best I'd give him, though. He should break his leg. Can't even beat all the red zones. Can he even beat the blue Goku red zone? I think you probably could, but like maybe. You do run 2 when he gets a new team. Yeah, everyone's saying this. Like when he gets a new team, but like, well, I'm talking about him right now as well. Like right now, I'm not talking about him in like 3-4 months. Right now, but you know, we can be hopeful if he gets another team that he can't just be ran on. You know, the only issue is this. Yeah, no, again, luckily the domain here, like he can still get his intro effects, all of these, without having the domain activated, which is it's nice. If this was tied to the domain, that would be a whole other issue. But luckily, it's not, because it's like STR Slug. So yeah, a lot of people just don't like I just, you know, yeah, we'll see. It's just funny, like, oh, he needs a new team when he's designed around tournament participants, and like this is supposed to be the team for him. It's kind of funny, but I'm ending here. Thanks y'all for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.